Յունիս 24-ին հանդիսաւոր արարողութեամբ նշուեցաւ Georgetownի հայ որբերու Գանատա ժամանման 100-ամյա յոբելեանը, որուն ներկայ գտնուեցան Գանատայի խորհրդարանի եւ Օնթարիոյի խորհրդարանի անդամներ, քաղաքական դէմքեր, հոգեւորականներ եւ Օնթարիոյի հայ համայնքի ներկայացուցիչներ։ Նախաձեռնութիւնը կազմակերպուած էր հայոց Ցեղասպանութեան ուսուցման Sara Corning կեդրոնի կողմէ։
Over 100 years ago, the government of the Ottoman Empire decided to eliminate its Armenian population through genocide. 100 years later, the government of Azerbaijan is trying something similar by pressuring Armenians to leave their native land in Artsakh. At that time, 1.5 million people were killed and 500,000 were left homeless as refugees. Among those refugees were tens of thousands of orphaned children. Though the First World War had ended, the genocide continued, and those orphans needed help. A project was set in motion to bring some of them here to Canada. With the eventual approval of Prime Minister Mackenzie King and the Department of Immigration, a small quota was granted to this group to try something new, to bring in child refugees, thereby saving their lives, while also boosting Canadian agriculture. The story of the Georgetown Boys has many legacies. It reverberates among us regardless of who we are. For many of you here today, Georgetown is part of your family history. For others, it's part of your communal history. For historians, the evolution of Canadian immigration policy passes through here, as does the history of philanthropy in our country. As you listen to the others who will be coming up to this podium, I ask you to think about what Georgetown can mean for you.
This is a very, very special occasion. We should be very proud of ourselves for being here 100 years later to remember that these boys came here with no families, with no background, at the mercy of all the different organizations, not knowing what would come next. And here we are with, I'm going to guess there must be, I don't know, do you guys think 150 descendants of the Georgetown Boys here today is an exaggeration? I don't think it is. I think there's about 150 of you who made it here from all around Ontario, Canada, United States to come here and remember this. I think the boys would be so proud if they were here today, and I think they would thank the Sara Corning Center.
I am deeply honored to be here as a descendant of boy number 79, Misad Tumajan, who became known as Ernest Jackson. What a heroic and Herculean story the survival of the 110 boys and 2 girls is in the annals of Canadian and Armenian history. My father equally loved his new adopted home in Canada, whilst never ever forgetting his proud Armenian heritage. I am so fortunate and blessed by God to be here today with the supreme privilege and honor of the title I hold in Hamilton City Council, and by the way, the first member of Hamilton City Council of Armenian heritage. But, thank you. But, and however, I anguish to become both emotional and angry to think of the 1.5 million Armenians that were deported to their death and what they could have achieved and become if it weren't for the genocide of 1915.
They did whatever they needed to do to support themselves and their families, and they did it with cheerful enthusiasm. They wanted to make sure that their families never missed a meal and never were hungry the way they were when they were growing up. They loved their country, and I would hear them say things like, "What a country, this Canada. I kiss the ground in this country, and my all-time favorite, I came to this country with nothing, and I still have most of it." And finally, they were community-minded. Many of the Georgetown girls and boys were active participants in Armenian community organizations and churches, helping new immigrants get settled and adjusted in Canada, including finding housing, getting their children enrolled in school, and helping them to secure jobs to get that all-important Canadian experience. In doing so, they invested in the next generation. 100 years have come and gone, and the Georgetown boys and girls have passed on, but their story and their memories remain the same. May that story and the memories be a blessing and an encouragement to future generations. Thank you to the Sara Corning Center for hosting this event, and thank you all for coming.
Whenever the Georgetown families gathered in those days, I saw that there was so much joy being expressed. However, I could sense that just beneath the surface, there was much sadness because of all they had witnessed and all that had been taken from them. They sang and danced and they laughed, but they can never forget. They had survived and were together and were speaking the language their parents had given them. There were always tears along with the laughter.
May we never forget the lessons of the past, and may we continue to uphold the principles of compassion, justice, and human rights that have been shaped by Canada's example. Together, we're able to build a future where all people can live in peace, harmony, and dignity. Therefore, it is my utmost privilege and honor to join you today in marking this centenary with profound gratitude, reflection, and renewed commitment to a better world. Thank you very much.
While hate and persecution still persist in our world, it is always relentlessly followed by hope for a better world. Hope brought these children to Canada, as hope brings men, women, and children to Canada every day to protect them from those who use hate as their weapon. Thank you again for recognizing this day and for recognizing Canada's contribution. The generations that grew from these innocent children ensured that those taken from us live on forever. And it's been an honor to be here with you today, and I do have greetings on behalf of the Prime Minister, which I'll read for you today. Dear friends, I'm pleased to extend my warmest greetings to everyone attending today's commemoration of the 100th anniversary of the arrival of the Georgetown Boys and Girls in Canada. Between 1923 and 1927, 109 Armenian boys and 29 Armenian girls, orphans, displaced by the Armenian genocide, were brought to Canada in efforts spearheaded by the Armenian Relief Association of Canada.
I happen to represent this riding of Wellington-Halton Hills along with our fantastic local town council here, and the Georgetown Boys are part of the fabric of this community. It reminds us of not only reminds us of the contributions that Armenian Canadians have made to Canada over the last 100 years, it connects us to a fastly disappearing rural past when this was a much more rural part, an agricultural part of Ontario. And so the two spirits have come together. The farm families that here and in the broader region hosted these Armenian boys and the Armenian boys who came here to establish what is now a vibrant community in this country.
It is my honor and privilege to stand here today to bring greetings from the Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, and the Speaker of the House, Ted Arnott. I am standing here with mixed emotion. Mixed emotion, first, because the impact some of the Georgetown boys, they had on me, on my life since my arrival to Canada. I came to Canada as a refugee from Lebanon 43 years ago. I landed in Toronto airport. I applied for refugee status. And of course, as you know, the bureaucracy takes time. It went through 2 years, 3 years. You are in limbo. You don't know what to do, how you're going to continue your life. And I got to know a gentleman from the Georgetown Boys, Kirk Magarian. He was, I believe, at that time manager or on the board of the Armenian Community Center management. So we became friends, and I started talking to him about my problem, my difficulty. He said, okay, tomorrow you're coming with me. I said, where we are going? He said, we are going to Queen's Park. I said, what are we going to do in Queen's Park? He said, I'm going to solve your immigration problem. I said, Kirk, this is a federal issue, not a provincial issue. He said, don't worry about it, come with me. Within a week, I got my landed immigrant documents. The other gentleman who had a profound impact on me from the Georgetown Boys, of course, is Paul Adurian. And Bob, you are here, and we became good friends with Paul and his wife, Lily. And I am someone who is not very good in finances, maths, etc. So Paul became my financial advisor. He helped me secure the mortgage for my home in Toronto. And I will never forget his guidance, his input in my life. They were the seeds of community. They were the ones who made everything possible so that newcomers, they enjoy life. They don't go through the same experience that they went through. And what a poignant anniversary where the Ontario Legislative Assembly passed private member bill declaring month of May as Armenian Heritage Month in Ontario.
The Georgetown community overwhelmingly supported the arrival of these boys and helped get them adjusted to life in Canada. While living at this site we are gathered at today, these boys learned how to speak English and were taught farming skills. The significance of this site to the Armenians who came to live here and now visit this location goes back that 100 years. Today, we, as council and the mayor, want to thank the Sara Corning Center for Genocide Education for hosting today's event. And to the families of the Georgetown Boys, we welcome you to the site. The town recognizes the historical significance of this site, and we honor the children who lived at this park. So on behalf of the town, thank you. This is what makes our community such a unique and inviting place to live. It is a real honor to be a part of today's activities. And thank you everyone for coming.
I would like to take this opportunity and acknowledge the work of the Sara Corning Center for Genocide Education for keeping the conversation going. These boys survived genocide. They came to Canada not to be forgotten, but to keep the history alive.